the cloud so we can post this in our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel for ICF Houston. So if you miss part of the session, you can see it later on in the YouTube channel. But welcome, coaches. Thank you for joining us in our February session of the Coaches Launchpad for ICF Houston. I am glad to be here and your host. I am a member of ICF Houston, and I started this initiative when I first started my business as a way to help myself and other coaches who were starting their business learn from other more experienced coaches about how to build the infrastructure and the mindset to launch our coaching business. So we're almost 3 years into this, and it's a great initiative that I love hosting. So thank you for being here. Um, I am recording, just so you know. And before I introduce you to our wonderful speaker, I'm going to share a just one slide with you. Please let me know when you can see it. Can you see it now? Great. Thank you, Kelly. So before we dive in, I want to share one quick thing. Coach Launchpad is actually one of the benefits of being a member of ICF Houston. If you're joining us today as a guest, welcome. We're really glad you're here. I'm often asked what's the difference between ICF Global, being an ICF Global member, and an ICF Houston member. And they're both valuable, but they serve different purposes. ICF Global gives you international credibility, research, conferences, and access to the professional worldwide industry. ICF Houston is where you actually build your relationships, learn from experienced coaches, especially in this event. It is where you can ask questions, practice, volunteer, and really grow within a local community that truly supports other coaches. And this launchpad actually exists because launching a coaching practice can feel exciting, but also overwhelming at the same time. So if you're not a member yet, I would love for you to consider joining the ICF Houston. And there's more happening in this community, and we would love for you to be part of it. So please take a note of um, the ways that you can benefit from the ICF Global and the ICF Houston membership. And we will share at the end of the presentation a QR code that you can scan to make it easy for you to join. And now I'm going to stop sharing, and I am going to be introducing you to our speaker today, Mr. Kelly Houston, Dr. Kelly Houston. Kelly is an ICF member and also he's part of the board of directors of ICF Houston. Kelly will be presenting to us everything he knows about AI and how it is the use for coaches. So without further ado, Kelly, the the stage is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful, warm introduction, Elena. Thank you for everybody for coming here. I'm excited to share some findings over the next 45 minutes or so on exploring how these artificial intelligence tools can support but not replace your work as coaches. And it doesn't matter if you're curious or even skeptical, because even though I'm in this field, I have some skeptical parts of me. My goal today is for you to leave with practical tools that you can actually use. And hopefully, these are some things that you haven't heard before. So let's see. A little bit about me. And I'm sitting at like an interesting intersection of my career. I spent 30 years now working in technology that's networking, clouds, building infrastructure for telecommunication carriers globally, including leadership roles at Microsoft, where I started working with AI projects back in 2021, 2022. Uh, but I'm also a certified professional coach. Got my certification done back in 2023. And currently, I teach AI, intro to AI courses at Houston Community College, amongst some other things I do over there. So I understand both worlds, the power of these tools and the technology, and but also the deeply human work that we do as coaches. And so this combination is what I want to share with you today. And I just want to say I'm not here to turn you into technologists. I'm here to help you see this is just as another tool in your toolkit that you can use as a coach. And the biggest one is helping you free up your time and energy to focus on the work that you actually do and love. This slide, I just want to give a shout out to HCC and show you what we have going on the continuing education side. We have 3 programs on the intro side, certification tracks from Google, Microsoft, and CompTIA. These classes are 12 weeks long, so there's 24 sessions of information. So we cover quite a bit of material in those sessions, and all for the cost of $359 per class. So we get into the practical uses of it, and we explore different tools, not just the ones that from the vendors that are mentioned there. We look at other tools and we make them useful. So today, first we'll demystify what AI actually is. No computer science or technology required. And I'll keep it short, that part of it. And the next part we'll go into, and this is critical for coaches. We'll talk about data privacy and what should never go into an AI tool. At least from my perspective, there's some things that I wouldn't share with those tools. Third, a simple framework called PTCRE, and this is for writing prompts that actually give you useful results. And fourth, we'll talk about your human judgment and why that isn't going anywhere. AI is a tool, not a replacement. And then finally, I'll walk you through a real case study of how I used AI to develop a coaching offer, not theory, actual practice. And this is part of the work I did with my students last semester and a capstone project that we did. It covered about 3 weeks of work. So, what is artificial intelligence? Anyone want to share? Come off mic, off mute real quick and tell me what they believe or what they think. There's no wrong answers, by the way, so feel free. Okay, let's start with the basics. So at its core, AI refers to machines that are programmed to simulate human intelligence, to think, learn, and adapt. These systems can perform tasks that typically require human interventions and cognitive abilities. So there's a few different core areas you'll hear about. Machine learning, systems that are proved through experience. These have been around for a long. Machine learning has been a discipline that's been around for quite some time, and it's been integrated into your daily life. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's been around for a time now. Natural language processing, and that's how AI understands and generates human language, which is powers tools like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini if you're using that. Computer vision is used to interpret images, and robotics for physical machines and intelligent behaviors. So there's other parts that I'm not covering here, but I'm just giving you a summary of the type of things that go into AI. Now, here's something important to recognize is that when we talk about AI, everything you interact with today's Siri, ChatGPT, Alexa, if you have it, your spam filter, that's what we call narrow AI. It's designed to do one thing and one thing well. General AI, or what we call human level intelligence across all domains, doesn't exist yet. And super intelligence is purely theoretical. So if you've heard people talk about AGI or artificial general intelligence, and maybe it's been created yet and it's out on the internet and loose, that's not true. What we do have is a lot of people out there collecting data and using that data, doing things with machine learning to sort of gather more intelligence about how people do things. So whether it's Facebook and their ads and Google with their maps, this is what we're seeing. So when you hear these dramatic headlines about AI, remember what you're working with is powerful, but they're mostly narrow tools and they're not sentient, not just yet. So. uh, So a brief history of AI. And as I stated before, this isn't really new. So back in 1950, there was a guy named Alan Turing who asked, can machines think? And this was like the first predecessor to what we see today. In 1956, they coined the term artificial intelligence for the first time. In 1966, the very first chatbot, Eliza, was created. And she's still out there today. You can find her on the internet, and she'll talk to you. Not as well as ChatGPT, but you can have some interesting conversations if you want. In 1997, that was a breakthrough moment when IBM's Deep Blue beat the reigning world chess champion. So the real acceleration happened starting in about 2012 when deep learning breakthroughs. Now, if you go back to the mid 90s, they were already started to build neural networks that are the predecessors to what we see today with ChatGPT and the large language models. But when they brought in deep learning, this really helped usher in the age of ChatGPT, which we start seeing in late 2021 and early 2022. And so AI suddenly went from just being something that tech people use to something that anyone could use. It's made it accessible for the dinner table conversation. So, and the reason why I share this history is because this technology has been developing for over 70 years. So it's not new, it's just new and accessible to the general public. So as I stated before, AI is in everyday life. So look at this list. Alexa, that's AI. Siri, that's AI. Google Assistant, that's AI. Your Gmail filters, that's AI. Also, any workplace filters that filter out spam, that's AI. When Google Map reroutes you during rush hour to suggest a shorter route, that's AI. When you get Copilot and it starts suggesting automatically how to clean up your documents that you're getting ready to send, that's AI. It's in your email now. All of that's AI. When Amazon is recommending you products and baiting you in to spend more money, things that you like and you can't say no to, that's AI. So and then now your phones can auto organize your photos by face. Has anyone noticed your phone doing that, or your iCloud facial recognition technology? That's AI. So it's today. It's not like really some scary future thing. It's already woven into your life, and it had been woven into your life before it even became publicly announced. When your apps and your phone started doing these things before even ChatGPT was announced. So today we're really going to get into how to be more intentional of how you use it in your life, in your work. So before we move forward, can I ask a question? Quick show of hands or drop in the chat. What's outside of ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and those large language models? What is one AI tool you've used recently, even if you didn't think of as AI? Anyone? Customer service chatbots, Google Maps, GPS. So I had an interesting one a few weeks ago. Marshall Goldsmith chat box. I haven't heard of that one. Claude AI for a short itinerary. Yeah. Making a doctor's appointment bonds at the altar. Okay. So there was an interesting one that happened to me a few weeks ago. I was calling out vendors or to get some work done on my house. And it was about the third phone call. I realized that I wasn't actually talking to a person, that I was talking to an automated tool. That sounded very convincing, had a personality and everything. And so then it became my mission to try to trick it, to try to fool it to see if I can get it to go off script. So that didn't happen. Auto AI and Zoom meeting summaries, yes. Talk to text, dictating emails. Okay. So let's move forward a little bit. So so real quick, I want to talk about how AI actually learns from the data. So the short version, the short version is it detects patterns in data. So first you, so what happens is, and what's been happening is these companies collect a massive amount of data, examples that AI will learn from, and then you label it. And when I say label it, you label like this is a cat or this is a dog, this email is spam, and this one isn't. But when it goes through and looks at images of cats and dogs, it's looking at thousands upon thousands of images. And so in the initial stages of it, people were actually going in and hand labeling all of these objects. And so over time, as the models get better and better, now it's learning, able to detect a dog from multiple different angles or a cat, even if it was dressed up like a dog. Um, and then the different examples with email. So you're training the AI on how to detect patterns of information. Um, and so why does this matter for you? Because AI learns from patterns, and the quality of which comes out depends entirely on what went in. So both in its training and what you give it. So essentially, if you've heard the term garbage in, garbage out, that's how AI works. But if you give it clarity in, you'll get clarity out, and that's what we're here to talk about. So before we move forward, we want to talk about working safely with AI. And this is one of the topics I spend an entire class speaking about with my students. Data that should never go into AI. So, so as coaches, we all handle sensitive information, and AI tools, especially the free ones, may store, learn, or share what you input. And what I say, but when I say that, I want to be careful to make the distinction. So ChatGPT and the others say, well, if you pay for the subscription, we won't train the data on the information that you give us. If it's free, then just assume that they're doing that. However, the caveat will say to this, and this is what any company that's out there promising certain things, that may be the case now, but 5 years from now, if there's a buyout or they go out of business and someone buys the assets of that company, that might not be true 5 years from now. So just keep that in mind. So the first category I like to talk about is PII, or personal identifiable information. These are names, addresses, social security numbers, financial information, bank details, salary data, health information. It could be a HIPAA violation, and client data without explicit consent. And any of these could create legal or confidential concerns for yourself. So as coaches, my my practice as a coach is that I don't put in client session notes, client names, or any identifiable information into these tools. Um, Now, the caveat to that is if you do want help to help you process a client situation, anonymize it, meaning change details, names, industry specific details, if you're going to do it at all. So, I have a question for everyone. And what client information do you handle on a regular basis that will fall into one of these categories? Email, phone. Yeah. topics of discussion. Absolutely.
And definitely from a career coaching standpoint, resumes, which I always redact
Hmm.
any of that personally identifiable info. Sometimes I even take it a step further and remove past employer names, or
Hmm.
I'll actively change them to nonsense things like ABC company, um, just to avoid anything that could even tie back to somebody.
Okay, that's good. Um, I'm careful with client information, but not so careful with my own, meaning I've done my resume. Someone else says that too. So I've massaged my resume using AI tools. Anyone else want to share? Okay. So yeah, so as coaches, we come
Yeah, I
across
was
a
going to
lot of.
say one
Oh,
thing.
go ahead, Kelly.
Sorry, I took too long to on mic, but I did a cover letter yesterday using AI for the first time, and it's for a high level job, and it did an amazing job. I put in the job description and then my resume. It
Hmm.
wrote a really professional cover letter for me and had the appropriate amount of enthusiasm and professionalism. And I had to tweak it,
Hmm.
but it was great. It really aligned what they were asking for and what my experience was and how it matched up.
Okay. Do you mind me asking, did you use ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini?
Gemini.
Okay. All right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, since I work with these tools a lot, almost every day, I've noticed some nuances between them, but we can get that talk about that in the Q&A session. So, all right. Anyone else before I move on?
I I have used uploading transcripts as I'm growing my coaching for feedback
Hmm.
using a template to analyze, but it says coach client. Would that give
Hmm.
information? I mean, would that infringe in confidentiality?
Well, I would say this. If you're paying for it, they're telling us that they're not using this information to train their larger models. If you're paying for it, the question is that how long will that be an agreement between these companies and the public? Um,
Yes, because it does never say the name. It just says coach and client.
oh well, you've anonymized it, so in that particular case, I would say no.
Okay.
But anything that's personally identifiable, be careful with.
Yeah. They have all my info after my resume. Sorry.
Anyone else? Okay, let's proceed.
Yeah, Kelly, we have several questions already, which is great, but we can leave the time at the end to answer, and I will pull those up.
Okay, all right, sounds good. All right. So next, as I alluded to earlier, AI is not here to replace you, especially if you're involved in work that involves critical thinking. So this brings us to oversight. AI is a tool, not a decision maker, and it can make mistakes. And I'll get to that a little bit later when I talk about my personal use case. It can hallucinate, which means it can generate confident sounding information that is completely and totally wrong. It can reflect biases from its training data. They are getting better about that, but early on, you could get very biased information from it just because of how it was trained, and it couldn't handle nuance and exceptions that human judgment navigates natively. So your role isn't being replaced by AI. Your role is to direct it, review its output, and apply your own judgment and critical thinking to the process. Think of AI as a very fast, very eager, very new intern that can do the research, that can draft the documents, that can do all of the busy work that we used to give our interns when I was working, and even help you brainstorm ideas. But you wouldn't let them make the final decisions without review. So think about it like that. Um, Same principle. So, so now I'm going to get into some more practical stuff. Before I move any further on that, anybody want to say anything about human oversight? Any comments?
Kelly, I put in the chat, trust but verify still applies,
Yes. Mhm.
right? I mean,
Always.
just because we saw it online doesn't necessarily make it true.
Right. Exactly. And treat the AI the same way. Now, if you're being completely creative, because some people apply it for creative writing, and you can just let it go wild. But even if you do that, I would state that it has the ability to generate some very interesting plot holes in your story. So, so be careful there. So let's move on. Let's talk about like prompt engineering. So what is prompt engineering? Before I define it, anybody familiar with this term? They've been talking about it for about 3 years now. So people have jobs doing this. So um, so prompt engineering, it's the practice of designing inputs to AI system to get better outputs. And how you ask determines what you get. And so why does this matter? This matters because good prompts mean good first try accuracy. You'll get useful results without 5 or 6 rounds of, no, that's not what I meant. Uh, can we try again? And that's the refinement process. It's part of this framework. But if you use a very good first prompt, you'll get really good information out the first time that will save you time on a task that would normally take you hours. And that can all happen in minutes and helps you unlock capabilities that you didn't know existed. So the difference between someone who can find AI frustrating and someone who finds it invaluable is usually in how the prompts are constructed. And this goes a little bit deeper past the prompts, but for today's session, we'll just stick with the prompts. So this framework is called the PTCRE framework. It has 5 elements. And you don't need all 5 every time, but the more you include, the better results you'll get. So P is for persona, like who is it pretending to be at this moment? Who is the AI going to be? What expertise should it bring? A generic one would be act as an experienced marketing strategist, for instance, right? Or act as an experienced executive coach. Task, what exactly you wanted to do? What is the output? In this example, create 5 powerful questions that explore XYZ. Context. What background makes AI in this situation unique? What does it need to know? And this is your context. So my client is a mid-level manager struggling with delegation, XYZ. So you give it that context. And then R is for references. What does good look like? We all have our standards for what is good to us. And so we want to give it references. So in this case, we could use the ICF core competencies, right? And we can also tell it and give it constraints on what to avoid. And this is very important, providing constraints and telling AI, hey, no, don't do this, don't consider this, but do it this way, right? And then E is for evaluate and iterate. And now, I did say that if you give it a good first prompt, you don't have to do that much of this, but you still may want to do this. And this is refine it. It's not like a one and done thing. You want to review, refine, repeat. And so let's see what that looks like. So anyone here as a coach struggle with social media posts? Right? Yeah. So instead of just asking it, write some social media posts for my coaching business, we can do a little bit better than that. And the reason is the AI doesn't know what to see because there's no context of what you're doing in your business, right? So what kind of coaching do you offer? Who is your ideal client? What's the platform? What's your brand voice? Do you have one? What do you want people to do after the reading? So, and all of those things weren't there. So when you give AI a vague prompt, you get vague generic content and the kind that sounds like it could have been written by anyone for anyone. So So this is an example of a strong prompt. I won't read it all, but basically act as a social media strategist who specializes in marketing professional context. You give it a leadership coach, working with mere career professionals. Brand is warm and direct. Maybe you don't do the toxic positivity. Your audience is LinkedIn. You're looking for people aged between 35 and 50. And you give it a task, create 5 LinkedIn posts, develop a series for you. And this is where you have a brand, you've outgrown your role. This is a niche that you're applying to. And for each post, include a hook, copy, and a soft call to action, right? And then it'll generate something out for you, right? I've noticed that just in my practice, doing things like this, Claude tends to do a better job writing these things out than ChatGPT. But I would encourage you to try multiple tools. If you're going to do this, try them on multiple tools to see which one gives you the best information for what you're trying to do. And then references, you have to add those. Tone should be confident, reliable, slightly provocative, but not preachy. Avoid coaching jargon. You want it to be relatable to people. Write like a smart friend who happens to be a coach, but not a guru on stage. Maybe you want to be more personable and not like Tony Robbins or something, right? So you see the difference. The AI knows exactly who you are based on what you fed it, who you're talking to, what you want, and how it should sound. And you can tell it those things, and it will give you something that looks like it came from you. So. Okay. And the reason why this prompt works is the persona brings in the expertise to your type of business. The context will just describe your niche, your audience, the platform, and the goal you actually are trying to accomplish. The task gives it specific and bounded deliverables. It could be number of words, format, or anything of that nature that gives it a specific thing it needs to do. And then the references protect your voice and sets a tone by telling AI what to do and what not to do. And so that last part, the avoid instruction can be your secret weapon. Telling AI what not to do is just as important as telling it what you want from it. Okay. So I want to ask another quick question, and we'll just take like 1 or 2 answers. Like, what is one marketing or business task that you could try with this framework this week?
This is Dr. Brandy. I use AI a lot actually. And I really use it for my like social media and things like that. But I've actually trained my tools to like resonate with like my voice. Like I've given it like my bio and worked with it for a while. And so I think that's helped. But I use it to build out my social media campaign.
Dr. Brandy, are you prescient? That's leading into my use case. So we're going to get there in a second.
Okay.
All right. So this week, what's one? So as we move forward, and we'll get to the end, and I'll give you homework on what to do with the PTCRE framework. But hold on to it, and we'll get there. So let's get to the case study. We have about 10-15 minutes. So I want to show you something different. And this is not a hypothetical example. This is my actual process that I used and how I used AI to develop a signature coaching offer called Unmute. And this is from raw data to a ready to launch program. So I didn't start by asking AI for business ideas. I started with self-knowledge. And as coaches, we sort of live in that space of helping people to discover self-knowledge, depending on what type of coaching you're doing. So we work with a bunch of different tools, different types of assessments. I threw in some other things that aren't necessarily assessments. I threw in some my birth chart and some other more esoteric things, whether you do that or not, I think is irrelevant, or whether or not you believe in it is irrelevant. Because my experience with these will show you that it doesn't matter which place you're coming from with it, it all sort of ends up the same. So, so the problem I had was I had all this scattered information and all of these ideas, but not a way to sort of develop it into something that was unique to me. And I think that early on as a coach, this is the thing that I struggle with the most, right? Because people, leaving coaching school, are like telling me, you have to, find your niche, find your niche. And my career has been so scattered and working in different things. I could be, a leadership coach, easy. Team development coach, easy, right? Career coach, easy, right? But then, there's different people that have been doing this for years, right? And they all have developed their brand over time. So for me, the problem was understanding what will work for me based on my personality. So I fed it my disc profile, my Berkman profile. I fed it my ELI from IPAC, my birth chart, soul contract read, gene keys, human design, all of these different frameworks, each giving me pieces of insight about who I am as a person. So I uploaded everything in the AI, not to get the answers right away, but to see patterns. So the ask, I asked it to integrate, not give me answers right away. So my first prompt wasn't to give me a business idea. It was help see the patterns across all of these assessments about me. I asked AI to combine everything into what I call a soul aligned career map to hold the complexity while I was trying to make sense of it. So the key, this is the key. I wasn't outsourcing my thinking. I was extending my capacity to hold multiple threads at once. And this is what I was using it for. So this complexity and pulling all these things together could be a lot of work and a lot of reading and comparing. I let AI do that, and I allow my a judgment to apply. So what AI saw that I hadn't quite articulated for myself, and here's what emerged from those 7 frameworks. So my disc profile showed that people feel safe with me. They open up. This is something I noticed in myself. It hadn't really articulated, but across my life, even with friends, this is one thing I had noticed about myself. The disc profile shows that. My ELI, if you're familiar with that assessment, shows that I'm service-driven and heart-centered, while my soul contract points to karmic work around expression and voice. My gene keys show things with style, magnetism, and restoring rhythm. And my human design confirmed that I'm here to embody wisdom and respond to what life brings. So, so the through line across every single framework: voice, expression, and helping others speak their truth. And this is something I may have sensed throughout my own life, but I hadn't named it. AI surfaced for me what was already there. So what happened? In the beginning, I asked it for the business ideas. So it gave me 25 different business ideas, which are based on my integrated profile. Now, my job then was to provide human critical thinking, not just accept what it gave me. I had used my discernment to figure out which one resonated. So there were some that I just dismissed and rejected immediately. Life purpose coaching, high ticket masterminds didn't match the energy that I wanted to bring. Some sounded good on paper, but it felt hollow because I felt like those were for people who weren't me. But some kept pulling me back. Shadow integration work, voice activation, coaching for helpers who've lost their own voice. And I kept circling around back to one thing: people who are powerful, capable, successful on paper, but somehow they're muted. And then at one point, the moment it clicked. So AI didn't hand me a name, the pattern did. Through our dialogue, certain phrases kept appearing: suppressed voice, holding back truth, filtered expression, silence to keep the peace. Then in one exchange about a quiz about quiz results, because I was using it to generate like quizzes and other things, AI wrote a line about women who silence themselves for too long. And I thought, unmute, not find your voice because that was too vague, not speak your truth because that's used quite a bit, but simple, active, and didn't frame silence as a problem to fix. It pointed towards possibility. The name matched the transformation I was already facilitating. It just hadn't been named yet. So what we built from there, once Unmute emerged, the conversation continued. Now AI helped me build out a complete offer, right? So this is the part where, you could spend a lot of time developing all of this, doing all of the business development around your business, but AI can help you with that. So I created an offer to focus on nervous system attunement and emotional release, voice reclamation, right? The messaging, homepage copy, the about pages, the landing page for the website, the work with me pages, the lead magnet quizzes, for result archetypes. All of this came from continuing conversation I was having in AI, not just one single prompt. So here's the part I need you to hear. AI did make mistakes, and I caught them. So at one point, and when I was looking at my birth chart, it said my moon was in Aquarius and my ascendant was in Libra. That's not correct. So I had to correct it and tell it, no, this is not right. This is what it is. Look at the actual content in the bio. It also kept assuming I was female based on my name. So it kept suggesting women-centered language. I clarified I am a man, which still suggested I work with women. The answer was yes, because women open up to me. That's from an actual experience. That's not a limitation, but I had to provide that correction to it. And so the lesson here is that AI reflects what you give, but your discernment shapes the output. And so without my corrections that I was giving it, the result would have been off. So what's the takeaway from this case study? AI held the complexity. I gave it multiple frameworks, also decades of self-knowledge, because included in that was my bio, my work history, and some other stuff that I fed it. Some of the things I've written over the years. And AI could hold all of it without forgetting or simplifying to suit. So I provided it the direction and every choice of what to keep and what to reject, what resonated, that all came from me. And the result was something that I co-created with the large language model. It couldn't do it without me, and I couldn't have done all of that without it. So it brought up the patterns, and I recognized it. I had to recognize the truth in that. So unmute wasn't invented, it was uncovered through dialogue, iteration, and human discernment. So the real takeaway from this case study is that it amplifies your signal. If you're clear, it makes your patterns visible and actionable. If you're fuzzy, it amplifies the fuzz. The second is get clarity before scaling. Get clarity about who you are, your niche, and what it is you really want to offer. And we often find that by looking in the mirror and looking at ourselves. Our life experiences and the things that make us unique to this world are generally what we have to offer back to people once we've gone through a certain period in our lives. And the AI can help you generate the content because you're using your voice as a differentiator here. Your voice helps you resonate with the people who would be attracted to your business. And your perspective and your taste are what sets you apart. And you've heard the old saying, you attract what you are. And so knowing yourself to use AI to develop that part of your business will naturally attract people to you that resonate with your message. So you hear a lot of people talk about the future of AI is about automation. Is about automation. In some parts it is, but in a human-centered business, what we do It's about understanding ourselves and what sets us apart and attracting a niche that is that of where we work. So this is about augmentation of human clarity, judgment, and voice. In this business, you're not being replaced, you're being amplified. And that is if you use these tools to your advantage. So, so what do you do with all of this? So I have here on the screen my challenge to you this week. Create one AI assisted task with this framework that we talked about, the PTCRE framework, and maybe it's just session prep. Maybe it's drafting an email. Maybe it's brainstorming content ideas. Just one thing. And notice what works and what needs iteration. You're not going to nail it the first time, and that's normal. That's just part of the process. So, an interesting, another thing that I did with this framework is that as part of IPEC, they gave us the questions for opening each one of our sessions. And I took those questions and I used them in different frameworks for different types of coaching. So it was specific to the coaching that I was doing and not just a generic framework. So to get creative, think about, what might be holding you back. Ask questions, iterate. It's there to help you and amplify your business. So start small, but stay curious. And again, I'll say this again, never ever put your client details and data into the AI. So, all right. Time for questions. We have 12 minutes.
Kelly, thank you. This was not just a great review for some of us of the things that we know. It's just a great reminder of what we should do and not do. But there were some new things that we didn't know about, and that was very insightful. Thank you so much. I know a lot of people here appreciate it the same. Kelly, will you be sharing the slides? Is there a way for us to get a copy of the slides?
Absolutely. If I send them to you, are you able to distribute them?
We
Or
can share them in a email to the register. So, or
okay,
if you don't get it, feel free to contact me and I have the slides already. So feel free to ask me for the slides.
okay, yeah, they're freely available to everyone.
Yeah,
Um,
perfect.
and one thing I do want to make clear about that process. This went over like 3 weeks, so it was on the tail end of a session I had done about using AI for ideation and brainstorming and finding niches and finding white space in overcrowded areas of the business world. And so I use it with my students for basically any entrepreneurs who are there, and also people who were in managerial or director positions in their job. So it helped them ideate on what they could be doing to improve their business, and that was the project.
Excellent. Raise your hand or come out of mute, unmute yourself if you have a question for Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. And I think there's been a question in the chat about this as well. But first of all, I just want to tell you that I found it incredibly interesting. I'm super inspired with different things that I'm going to be doing. But my question was, just out of curiosity, which AI tool did you use for all of this? Because I hear different things about different AI tools, like Claude is better for coders, and is there something for coaches that you think is better than others if we're going to have a paid version?
This is a very good question. So for brainstorming, I use ChatGPT. So I let ChatGPT hold the complexity. And by the time I got it to the point where I knew what I was doing and I started asking it to write copy, I didn't quite like what I was getting out of ChatGPT. So basically, I moved the project over to Claude. And once I did that, I was able to unlock and do some writing that I actually really appreciated. So in my experience, ChatGPT is great for brainstorming, great for getting like information. On the generation side, it can do some things, but it's not as good as Claude, even for documentation. If you're asking it to create documents, sometimes it has issue. Claude is flawless when it comes to documentation. If you want flyers or templates, documents, PDFs, if you're into markdown files to use for website, it's fantastic. And I've noticed that ChatGPT does have issues there.
Thank you.
Data handling, if you needed to interpret data, the best one I've seen so far is Gemini for that. I mean, it's Google. So, and someone did say Perplexity for research which is good. Gemini is also pretty good for research, but Perplexity it's I would say it's the top one for that. The other thing is ChatGPT has a lot more integration. So if you want to integrate it with third parties, you're going to get your most bang for your buck out of ChatGPT because it's going to allow you to do some things the others that won't just at this time.
What about Copilot? Someone asked, the one tied to Microsoft. What do you think about that?
Well, I will say this, if you're working inside of the Microsoft ecosystem with their actual programs and applications, it's fine. But if you're looking for more powerful input, it's from my experience, I do it offline in one of these other tools, and then I start inputting it into Copilot and then doing the fine tuning there. But if you're working with Power BI, you probably want to work with the Power BI tools that are there. If you're working with Excel as well. But just one thing, if you're working with Excel formulas and you're generating like all of these different formulas, or you need to understand what a formula does, you can still do that in Gemini, or and then output it and bring it back into Excel. Excel would do it, but I've gotten to the habit of using these other tools and then pulling them back into the Microsoft ecosystem.
What other questions do we have for Kelly?
Kelly, thank you for your time today. Just a quick question. How do coaches protect their IP? What's the best way to, like, as you're creating all of this new material, right? And, programs, signature programs, what is the best recommendation to protect IP right now?
Well, this is a great question because I did think about this, and you brought up a to-do list. The thing I need to do is go to the patent and trademark office and trademark it. And also the way IP works is that the first time if you're the first person to do this on the internet, then even if you don't do that, technically it's your intellectual property. And I learned that from working at HCC. So, but the PTO, Patent and Trademark Office, fill out the application and protect your information.
And Dr. Houston, I'll second that. This is Dr. Brady. I just recently worked with the IP attorney. Happy to share. I actually worked with her when I worked in IP several years ago. And I trademarked all of my intellectual property before I even leveraged it anywhere while I was writing my book and everything. So if you have something that is yours and you want to protect it, I would highly recommend talking to an IP attorney because it's not that much to file for a copyright or a trademark, and you'll be able to protect it in a more, I think, effective way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Any other questions? Andrea?
Hey, Elena, thank you. Hey, Kelly, thank you so much for this great presentation. It was quite good. I use AI a lot and also very cautiously. One question I have for you is, what do you think of the AI detectors? And the situation I have is I have twin sons who are seniors writing a lot of essays this year. And one of their teachers ran an AI detector on their essays. And my son was accused of cheating, of using AI, but everything he did was written himself. And luckily he had Google Docs that showed all of his version control. So, there's all these different like AI avoidance tools and, AI detectors. But if you're a good writer, you write clean, you don't have human mistakes and misspellings, what do you think of these AI detectors, and, will they get better with time, or, are they at all accurate?
I'll go back to what I said earlier, garbage in, garbage out. So, any detector that's purported to be able to detect AI is as good as the tool it was trained on. So anything that's created and then people are calling a tool, we have to be cautious of what are the foundations of that tool and how it was trained. And so the way things are now, people are marketing all types of things. I would challenge anyone who did that. I would challenge them and say, well, how do you know that that's a good tool? What do you know about the company and the people and the development that they did to actually create that? If you don't, then you're just taking the the word of someone who doesn't actually even know what they're using. Um, and so I would call that as a question, but it's just in general, it's an arms race when it comes to people generating content with AI and these detection tools. Some of them are going to be good, some of them not going to be so good. And just as I said, AI can hallucinate, so it can get an idea about something that's not factually accurate. So I would challenge that every time.
Thanks.
I'm sharing with you, coaches, if you want to share your feedback for ICF and specifically the Coach Launchpad, we would love to hear from you to see what kind of speakers you want to see, the topics, etc. Obviously, the feedback for Kelly will be greatly appreciated as well. We want to share that with him. There's a QR code for you to explore the ICF Houston membership, so you can just scan or take a picture of the QR code. And there's also a QR code for you to see what's next. We have other events besides Coach Launchpad for ICF Houston. Kelly, I don't think we have more questions, so we want to thank you for the wisdom, the experience that you share with us today. We appreciate your time and everything you have given us as a
Well,
gift.
I appreciate you allowing me to come on, and I appreciate everyone listening to me go through this. Um, it was an interesting process, so I just wanted to be able to share with someone, and hopefully, everyone can find this process helpful. Being vulnerable, that's part of being a coach. That's one of the things I learned in school. So that's that's what I wanted to share. So thank you.
There's one more question. Sorry, Kelly. A coach created a client persona for demonstrating coaching conversation with clients. Would you know which tools have that capability?
Well, that is actually part of my class, and that we call that creating agents or interactive simulators. So yeah, you can do that in ChatGPT. You can create a persona, and if the more information you use to create the persona, quote unquote, for the agent, the better off. You have to give it a personality and give it, maybe a backstory, but it can work out nicely if you design it correctly.
Thank you. For those of you that are still here, I want to take a group picture because I always post something on LinkedIn. So, and I'm going to use AI to create that post, okay? So if you want to be on that post, please put your camera on. And those of you that don't want to be on that post, you are more than welcome to leave. So let me take a picture. All right, everybody here. I got it. Thank you so much. I got it. So thank you, coaches, for joining us today. Stay tuned for the next speaker. We'll see you next month. Thank you, Kelly, again. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good job, Kelly.